All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Basement Binge. It's been a quick minute since we've done this. This week is a special one. We're going to be talking about Rise of Skywalker. It was just released in theaters, although we're a little late to the party. But anyway, I'm Harrison.
I'm Kelton.
And I'm Cade.
And yeah, let's get kind of started into this thing here. We'll just give you kind of a little breakdown of what we're planning to do here, a little different than our traditional podcast. We'll just kind of talk about Rise of Skywalker and our thoughts about it. Spoiler free, keeping away as many spoilers as we can. Give ourselves a ranking of it using our personal ratings scale of Pick Your Poison. Then we'll drop that spoiler wall, get into talking about it a little bit more. And of course, always end with Fall In like we do. So yeah, spoiler free thoughts about the movie. So I had the opportunity to go see it twice in theaters. I know Kate saw it twice.
Yeah, I've seen it twice.
We went and saw it together the second time. Kellen, did you just see it once or twice?
Just once.
Just once, okay. So maybe just kind of to start the conversation, we'll start with Pick Your Poison. Just switch it up a little bit. So starting with our Pick Your Poison, and to anyone who's new here, first off, thank you for listening. But also, Pick Your Poison is our personal rating scale here at the Basement Binge. At the bottom of that scale is to never watch again. Obvious. Right above that is to watch the movie if it were ever on a streaming service that you're already subscribed to, or like a free streaming service or something. If it was on there and you were needing something to watch, you would watch it again. Above that is renting the movie, where you would willingly pay, a few bucks to watch the movie a second time. And then the top of the list is buy the movie, which is supporting the studio, full send on it, buying it, watching it, rewatching it as many times as you want, whenever you want. Spending the most money on it, and that's our ranking, our Pick or Poison. Then we'll kind of do a little bit of ranking in the Star Wars movies. So yeah, Pick your Poison. My personal poison that I would pick with this movie, an easily pick, is going to be buy the movie.
All right. Yeah.
So for a lot of reasons. One, because it's a Star Wars movie and I collect movies, so kind of just natural. I generally buy movies a lot, so my ranking is a little skewed, but also just because genuinely I really, really enjoyed the movie, especially on the second time watching it. I enjoyed it way more the second time than I did the first time. So I imagine that will come more and more. The more you're able to watch it, the more I'll enjoy it. Having an understanding of what it is and how I watch the movie, so to speak, will make it more enjoyable each time I watch it, instead of having to go unprepared for what it was that I would be viewing, if that makes sense. So I'll buy it. I know I will.
That's cool. All right, my turn. This is a no-brainer, big buy for me. Like, I really enjoyed this movie, and for a lot of different reasons. Because this is hard not to get into spoilers.
The way you looked at me though when I said buy it, I thought that you didn't like it. So that surprised me.
No, I remember telling Kay, like, walking out of the theater, I think this movie might have made my top 10 list
of all time. Wow.
And
I was so surprised when I heard that. I was really?
I've heard a lot of people like kind of give me backlash for that, because like I feel like any movie or most movies, if you look for things that are wrong or off, like you'll find them. And in this movie there are things like that, but first time watching it, the pure like perspective, innocent. I didn't know anything going in. Like it had been a while since I'd seen like The Last Jedi and like Force Awakens, so I didn't like remember a whole lot of things. So it was just kind of just like, oh, okay, yeah, let's like see how good this movie was. I absolutely loved it. Like I feel like I'm a guy where I could get like hyped up super easy, and this movie got me so hyped at certain parts where I'm like kind of like screaming in my chair and like I can't breathe kind of thing. Like it got so intense and just so cool, so much fun to watch. So I would definitely buy this movie just because I had so much fun watching it. It's just fun, and there's so many cool scenes, and just it just really I thought it capped off well the this latest Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, to kind of give a comment to that before Kay gets into it, I thought, just personal opinion, that Revenge of the Sith Episode 3 is the perfect complete conclusion to what you want to call the Skywalker saga. I've always felt that the sequel trilogy, as much as I love them, I'm a huge supporter of them. I don't think it really fits in the Skywalker saga. I feel like episodes 1 through 6 are, a complete book, and then episodes 7 through 9 is just kind of like this epilogue that is just kind of like, all right, we got this story. What is the world like after this story? It doesn't really seem like it fits. So anyway, in my opinion, I feel like episode 3 is the perfect conclusion to the Skywalker saga, but this movie is a great conclusion to the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, it really wraps up well. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi kind of like in a little present. So it's like it's not like the perfect ending, but you can also, okay, all right, that's a good way to like kind of wrap things up. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a lot more to say, but we'll let.
Yeah. Before I get into this, I want to say we watched this opening like the day after it came out, right?
I watched it opening night.
You watched it opening night.
Ours was the day after.
Yeah. So it's been a while since like us watching it and now us talking about it, and I've held these things. I've actually typed up a couple of things on my phone of I want to talk about. So this is a huge episode. But I say I want to buy this because it's Star Wars. I mean, guys, come on. It's Star Wars. That's
period.
Tweet, podcast, episode, say what you will. It's Star Wars. Star Wars is a movie that's spanned over 42 years. And how big of a fan base does it have? It's huge. And so my parents have bought all like 1 through 6, and I'm sure we'll buy 1 through every single movie that's out there of Star Wars, including this latest one. And so to me, like because it is Star Wars, as I will buy Star Wars because I love the story of it. Like ever since Rise of Skywalker, I've watched probably up to arguably 30 videos on YouTube about Star Wars and speculation and hate videos and love videos about the movie and the whole thing and like other side stories and stuff like that because I'm just so captivated. This movie got my nerd on for Star Wars, you could say.
It was. I agree with what Kellen said. It was a really, really fun movie to just enjoy. Like it was the whole time. I'm like, I want to be careful here because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Like The Last Jedi, I really, really love The Last Jedi. It's up there one of my favorites, and I know a lot of Star Wars fans hate The Last Jedi, so that's kind of besides the point. But there was things about The Last Jedi that were hard for me to enjoy. As a whole package, I really enjoyed it, but certain segments bothered me. Those segments no longer bother me after The Rise of Skywalker. Does that make sense? Like The Rise of Skywalker completed those things from The Last Jedi in such a way that makes me enjoy it more. Makes me enjoy the whole sequel trilogy a lot more.
Yeah, I'd say that with this movie, though, it is important that you do watch The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Because it definitely shows, like, the relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren. It really plays off of, like, everything you know from the last couple movies.
Yeah.
And definitely, like, in terms of, like, the Sith and who the bad guy is and, like, how that all works, it explains. I just think the reason why I think this movie does such a good job of like finishing the trilogy is because it explains so much from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Like, it dives into a lot of different things of like the past Siths, like Snoke, and then like who Rey is, and I just think it does a really good job of just tying it all together well, like I said earlier. So if you do want to watch this, like, I would recommend going and seeing, you don't have to watch all 6 if you haven't seen the first Star Wars. It's like kind of weird if you haven't, but like at least watch The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi before you go see this.
Yeah. I think Star Wars just, I don't know if this is the right time to talk about this. I've had a lot of thoughts about Star Wars in general for a long time. Because like, especially like financially. So this is the conclusion to the longest lasting franchise and one of the most beloved franchises in all of Hollywood. Like, everyone knows what Star Wars is. Everyone loves at least one of the Star Wars movies. You know what I mean? And the movie has yet to cross $1 billion. And, like, not that that's needed, but, like, you would think that the movie of this standing would easily already be over $1 billion and be on its way to $2 billion. You would expect this to be similar to Endgame, if not surpass it. It's not even close. And I feel like it's just because so many fans no longer like Star Wars, which is sad to me. And I've been wanting. This is something I've been wanting to say and think about for a long time. I like personally want to apologize to everyone who feels like Star Wars is ruined for them. Although I disagree with you. You feel that Disney, you call it Disney Wars, whatever you want to call it, you feel that Disney or whoever is responsible has ruined Star Wars. And I'm sorry. First off, because you're missing out on a whole ton of fun. But second, that is an awful feeling to feel like something so important and so much a part of you is being ruined. Whether I disagree with you or not, you feel that way, and that's totally fine. Like, you can feel your own way. That's got to be a major bummer to feel that way. I'm genuinely sorry that you feel like someone else has ruined this beloved thing that you love. But it's really interesting to see, like, how toxic and divisive the Star Wars fan base is. Like, it is, it's not just like one way. It's not just like the haters of Star Wars and the lovers of Star Wars. Is like the toxicity goes both ways. Like, it's everywhere, and it's like people who love the Star Wars hating on people who hate it. People who hate Star Wars hating on people who love it. It's like, can't we all just like say like, I like it, you don't. Let's be friends. Like, I'm sorry that you don't like it. I'm sorry that you feel it's being ruined. Genuinely, that's a bummer feeling, but I like it. Like, it's so weird to me, like how, like I'm on Reddit a lot, and like I remember right after Rise of Skywalker, I was like, I love this movie, like it's so good, and I went on Reddit like expecting other people to feel the same, and some people did, and some people didn't, and it was really interesting to me that the people who didn't, like how upset about it they were like, it's so different than like any other movie, like I liked it, I didn't like it conversation I have about a movie. When it's I like, I don't like, when it comes to Star Wars, it's like a civil war almost. It's so weird.
I was on Twitter, and it was kind of the same thing where there's actually a few people that were very vocal about how much they love the movie, but the people that like hated on the movie, just the Star Wars in general, like this latest trilogy, they had so much negativity to say about it, and that they'd want to get in an argument rather than say like, I just don't like it or I didn't like it. It's so interesting because it's one of the very, very many videos that I watched on YouTube there's a video of this guy who just ripped into The Last Jedi and everything wrong about it. And it's like,
I so hated it. I don't know.
and like maybe it's because the director Ryan Johnson was just he wanted to kind of throw a curveball into it all and stuff. That he wasn't a classic fan. He was kind of different. He wanted to push into a different direction, but it was just the way this whole trilogy went down was so.
It's very weird.
It's very weird. Yeah,
it's weird to be a part of. Like,
yeah. Because
I mean, like the experience when, for example, I went to go see Endgame, way different with this one, and you would think that they would be the same. They're very similar in kind of how they're a bookend for both of the sagas, but it's so weird how different it is. But I'm going to continue to enjoy it nonetheless, if people don't. It's really interesting, though. I will say, if you are not a fan of the sequel trilogy, you will not like this one. You won't. If you're one of those people that's just like, even if you have an open mind, you're like, oh, I haven't liked The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, I'll go give Rise of Skywalker. And like, you have an open mind, probably just understanding the type of Star Wars, so to speak, that you like, you probably won't enjoy this movie. But the type of Star Wars that I like, and this type of Star Wars I had been longing to see, was finally fulfilled in this movie. Yes. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever played the Force Unleashed games.
Oh, yeah, we played it.
The Force was like ridiculously powerful in that game. Like, you could pick up a block, electrocute it, and then send it flying across the room while you're chugging your lightsaber and force choking somebody, and then force throwing them with your foot if you want, like all at the same time.
Or like
if you can push the buttons fast enough.
Pull down a whole freaking Star Destroyer with the Force.
Yeah, like there. Of course, in the Force Unleashed, it kind of got a little excessive, but it was fun. But like it's a great gameplay, but I don't know if that necessarily makes a great movie. And talking to people at work, they say like the Force has almost become like a superpower. Like especially in the original trilogy, it was kind of this spiritual, like mystic force that was naturally occurring in life that you just kind of tried to bring your life into balance with. You tried to be in line with, and it would give you bigger insights, and of course the ability to lift X-wings out of the mud and stuff like that. Like
kind of like side rewards.
Yeah. So like it was very kind of mystic and spiritual, and then in the sequel trilogies, it's become just like a superpower almost, which I enjoy seeing. Like I have nothing wrong with the original trilogy, but even now when I watch, I'm like, man, I kind of wish that the Force was a little bit stronger, because in my head, as how I imagine it, you fight with the Force the way that they fought with the Force in the Rise of Skywalker. And I remember during a lot of the fight scenes, it was like, finally they're using the Force. Like I know that they're using the Force before, but like in the way that when I had lightsaber fights with my brother, the way that we always used the Force, exactly. It was finally on screen, and it was very enjoyable. And in a way, it was just fun. It was just like, I'm loving this. It isn't some super mystic, revelatory sci-fi movie. It's just fun to see Star Wars.
I think for me, like, I totally agree with you, Harrison, because I grew up with, like, the prequel trilogy.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know...
You were kids when that was coming
Yeah,
out.
and so that's, like, my Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing with me is, like, I can't watch old movies. Like, if they're, like,
it's
bad
not hard.
CGI or, like, black and white. I know this is... And to be fair, I've watched some really cool, like, black and white movies. But to me, like, when I see something like that, it's like, kind of like a natural turn-off. I'm just like, oh, like, it's an old movie. Which is probably a terrible way of thinking. But for me, because of that way... I'm not a huge fan of the original Star Wars, you know, A New Hope, Emperor Strikes Back, you know, like all that stuff, because it just felt like it was slow, it wasn't a lot of action to me, and I think the main key of, like, Star Wars, why I love it so much, is the Jedi.
Yeah.
I love the whole idea of Jedis, lightsabers, the Force, and, like, in the original trilogy, you don't get a whole lot of that.
No,
It just feels more like a space battle. It's kind of
Vader. It's just a selective feel.
Yeah, it just feels a lot more like a Star Trek kind of thing. Like there's like this battle in space with like these lasers and all sorts of stuff, and so that's why I really like the original or not the original, but like the prequel trilogy so much, is because it focused a lot on the Jedi, and it was so much fun to watch.
And there was tons of them.
And I feel like this latest trilogy, especially in The Rise of Skywalker, it finally got back into the Jedi. Like,
yes.
Even in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, I still kind of had that feeling, like, it just feels like, kind of like a Star Trek thing, like, there's this battle in space, there's these gunships, these lasers, but I didn't feel like there was as much emphasis as I would have liked, and so I feel like The Rise of Skywalker finally brought that back. It felt like I was watching Star Wars 3 Revenge of the Sith. Because I absolutely love that movie so much.
Revenge of the Sith, phenomenal.
Like, hate all you want, like, people who like the original trilogy. But I thoroughly, thoroughly love Star Wars 3 Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, it has its cheesy moments and whatever, but you can't, like, argue against the awesome one-on-one fight scene against Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end.
Duel of the Fates
Like,
going is just
the
like...
emotions charged in there. It's like...
Do you know how many times...
family fighting, you're just, like, torn apart. You, like, want both to win. You're like, no, Anakin, why? And
my younger brother, side story, we always had lightsabers growing up, and I always had Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and he always had Anakin. So when that movie came out, I cannot tell you how many times, like, scene by scene perfectly, we reenacted that fight in our backyard. Like, even the moment when their hands fly together and they fly across, like, we had it, like, we knew when the next thing was coming, and it was so fun. I love it. So maybe this is a good time to get kind of into our ranking of the Star Wars movies. We're not going to we'll save this for later when we actually go to binging the Star Wars movies, but just kind of like a loose ranking for simply only The Rise of Skywalker. Like, where would we put it in the ranking of, should we do the 9 movies, or should we do all 11, including Solo and Rogue One? I think we should include those two, because I really like them. Okay, so where loosely would it fit for you guys in the ranking of all 11 of those movies?
Do we want to, like, have each of us just go through and name it, or do we want to...
Well, I don't know, because I don't know where all mine fit.
Let's go with where we would put The Rise of Skywalker, and what our favorite one is, and what our least favorite one is.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So number 1, number 11, and then where Rise of Skywalker would be. Okay. Someone want to go before me? I'm still thinking. Yeah, you suggested.
I'll go first. you guys think about it. Number 1, it's really hard. As a kid, I'll say that the Attack of the Clones was my favorite.
No, I totally agree with you. But man, I rewatched that the other day, and I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, halfway through, I was like, this is so cringy. Like, I know the story. I'm just gonna fast forward to the fight scenes. Like, I don't need this drama.
Here's the thing: as a kid, I didn't remember the like really cheesy.
Just remember the clones coming in with their gunships
and
around the survivors, a perimeter created. It's like the clones, like,
and then the Jedi just rushing toward the droids. You know, it's just epic. Oh yeah. So that was my favorite as a kid. So my wife and I rewatched the movies all the way until, when we watched number 9. 9. Skywalker. Revenge of the Sith is number 1.
Revenge of the Sith. Okay.
It's just complete. It just wraps the whole all into a nice little bow and just like epic. I love it. Kelvin.
Well, weren't you gonna name your least favorite?
Well, I was thinking go around just as our favorite and then our least favorite. So mine is Revenge of the Sith.
This is very difficult.
But I will say this: Empire Strikes Back is a second because it just the reveal in that movie is ridiculous, as you all know.
So, this is very close for me, but I also have to go with Revenge of the Sith, and that could just be like my childhood memory coming in, kind of like what Harrison said on just how it's just we grew up with that. Like, that was our Star Wars.
5.
And so, like, you know, I'm 8 years old, and Star Wars Revenge of the Sith comes out. General Grievous. I remember I had this little action figure, a General Grievous.
I remember that.
And, like, I could separate his arms, so he has, like, the 4 arms, and he had, like, 4 lightsabers. Other than that, like, his legs wouldn't move.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that would move are, like, his arms to separate. But I loved that thing. Like, I played with that so much. I even got, like, you know those TIE fighters in Revenge of the Sith? Not the TIE fighters. The Jedi ships that Anakin and Obi-Wan have. I got one of those, but it was like Mace Windu's, so it was like purple and it was big.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
I had one of those.
I could like pop open the wings and it had like the guns and
I had
stuff.
so many of those.
I don't know where that
You can
went,
shoot
but
the little darts too,
yeah,
right?
and
Or
like
the
I
little
just
lasers.
that was my childhood. Like the toys I got, you know, like getting like those plastic $10 lightsabers.
Yes.
I remember jumping on a tramp and like playing with those.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think Revenge of the Sith all tied in with, you know, my childhood, but also like it's such a great movie. I just love the emphasis on the Jedi and how like critical they are to like the galaxy and just like the peace or war or like the government. And I just thought I was so emotionally invested, like watching, like even now as I watch it, it's like, no, Anakin, like don't do that, you idiot. Like,
Oh,
you
my
just
heart
did
breaks
this.
every time.
I can't
exactly.
tell you how many times I've watched Revenge of the Sith, and I just somehow expect Anakin to figure it out. Oh wait, this is
It's like Anakin. If you do,
That's one of
okay,
the
last
reasons I
time
love
you
it.
messed up, but if you do it this way this time, you'll be good.
Yeah, and like, a lot of movies, like, for example, like Infinity War, every time I rewatch the movie, it's like, I already know what's happening. Like, there's not really the excitement of watching it, but every time Revenge of this, it's Sith. It still has such an emotional grip on me. I'm like, come on, Anakin, figure it out. Or like Order 66. Every time that comes, the whole movie, I know it's coming, but I'm hoping that somehow, even though the 100th times before it's been the same, that somehow it will turn out differently. But every time they die, it's just like,
it's so because like the one like all the point where it just cut scenes of every Jedi being taken out. I just had these like scenes that go through my head of like, hey, if he just like jumps off that bridge, he can save his life. If he just
runs away.
runs away, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and so that movie just, the emotional grip that it has on me just makes me enjoy it so much. And even though it's like hard to watch, but like at certain parts, but it's just incredible. So that will remain as my number 1. So Revenge of the Sith.
all right, well, I'm not as decisive as you two. I have a very, very hard time picking between. I have 3 movies that could all be my number 1, but I wouldn't say that they're my top 3. They're all my number 1, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like it's way different than my top 3 because I know what my number 2 is. My number 2 is Return of the Jedi, but the 3, they're not my top 3. They're all number 1. I can't decide, and it's Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, and now Rise of Skywalker. Those 3, like depending on my mood, I'm not sure which one is pulling ahead a little bit, but right now all 3 of them are evenly tied for number 1. Not 1, 2, and 3, but they're all number 1. Yeah, so those would be my top. If I had to pick one, it changes on my mood. As of right now, it's probably Rogue One, just because I love Rogue One. Like, such a good movie, but we're not talking about Rogue One. We're talking about Rise of Skywalker, which is also up there, numero uno. So loop back around. What is our bottom?
Right, what's our bottom? I would say, A New Hope is the bottom.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No way! No way! That's better than Attack of the Clones. No. Oh wait, Wait, should we do the 12th movie? Include the Clone Wars movie, the animated one? Not
the
the TV show,
animated
the
one?
movie.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, then we'll leave it out.
Leave it out. The reason why it's a New Hope, why A New Hope is at the bottom. Hear me out. I watched the prequels recently, and to me, the prequels just is a story about Palpatine and how his whole plan came together to overthrow the Jedi, and I'm just like amazed by that. I ignored all the fancy smancy little weird scene on Naboo with Padme and freaking weirdo Anakin.
It's rough when Corson gets everywhere. It's like, what are you saying, dude?
But like it's, I don't know, A New Hope. I don't find any connection to it. I may regret this.
To reason with Cade, it does feel boring. Like
It feels like a
Like,
just,
part of, I mean, from the beginning, you're just like, oh my. Because
like,
the problem is, I watched A New Hope after I watched, like, the prequel trilogy.
yeah.
I was like,
we watched the prequels.
wow,
Those
nothing is
were our first
happening.
movies, and then watched A New Hope, and it's like, we'll take it.
It is very slow compared to the others.
And that's probably why I feel like.
So is that your bottom of New Hope?
No.
Oh.
At the bottom for me, I've only seen half of Solo, but I've heard a lot of people don't like that. I thought it was a cool movie.
Yeah, I like Solo.
It was an origin movie, so I liked it. But
Oh yeah, your orange story.
yeah, dude, my orange movies, I love them. But I would have to say Attack of the Clones just for the crap that Anakin pulls. It's like sometimes like Anakin has the stupidest dialogue I've ever heard. Like I know this isn't from like
All of them.
I know this isn't from Attack of the Clones. It's actually from The Revenge of the Sith, but like they just make me laugh so hard. Like there's this scene when he's facing Count Dooku, and like he walks up, and he's like, "My powers have doubled since we last met, Count." Like that sounds like something a 3-year-old would say. Like in all honesty, he's just like, "What the heck are you talking about, dude?"
Powers of double that's meant Count. And then Count Dookie's response is like, I'm gonna
Twice the
Twice
pride,
pride, double the fall. I wonder between the three of us if we could quote that like line for line.
Dude, I could quote the whole Mustafar battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
But he's a Sith Lord.
You brought him here to kill me!
You turned her against me.
You have done that yourself. If you're not with me, you're my enemy. Oh, okay, anyway.
We'll try.
I will do what I must. Okay. My bottom of the list, easily, Attack of the Clones. Okay, I will say, it is, but the bottom of the list in Star Wars is actually not that far from me, because even the Attack of the Clones, I feel so much nostalgia and love for, that I will still enjoy it. I own it, I've watched it multiple times, I love it.
Banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin is pretty cool.
Yeah, Obi-Wan and Anakin in it are a ton of fun. The Jedi-ness of it is fun. The clones, of course, are sweet. The space battles are fun. But, like, whenever it gets to the scene with Padme and Anakin, it's like, all right, someone, like, burn it, turn it off. Like, someone tell this dude how to control his hormones. And it's, I know that the story was kind of rushed, and I do not blame it on Hayden Christensen. I think Hayden Christensen actually is a phenomenal actor. I think George Lucas just wrote such horrible lines for this kid to be such a whiny, hormonal Jedi. And Hayden Christensen portrayed it perfectly to the point where it's so cringy. Like, he's so good as an actor that it's so cringy because those were the lines we were given. But anyway, like the scene where he's in Naboo and he's talking about sand, when they're flirting, when he's in the room with her and she's wearing like the most revealing dress in the world, and he's like, it burns inside me. Like, it's like, what are you saying, dude? Like, you just went from like a trained Jedi to just like, I feel nothing but my hormones right now. Like,
here's my defense with Attack of the Clones. Here's my defense. This is the reason why it's not last. The fight scene between Count Dooku and Yoda. That scene in itself brings it away from last place.
There's great moments in that movie. I love many parts of that movie, but that watch as a whole, I struggle to watch it because I fast forward through the moments. I'm like, I know what happens. I know what he says. I know what it leads to. He falls in love, and then they have children. I don't need to hear this.
So, guys, we're at like half an hour. We still haven't even like dived into the Force or Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, geez, we really like Star Wars, don't we? Okay, so where would we put Rise of Skywalker? I would personally put it, I already said, at the top.
Mine is number 2, very close to Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, it's gonna be something around like number 4, number 3, but not the top, but it's up there.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone. If you have not seen the movie, listening to our spoiler wall. We're going to drop it now. We're going to reveal everything about the movie. So if you don't want to pause, just stop listening. This is your warning. But thanks for listening to the beginning. Go enjoy the movie. We had a ton of fun. It is, I will say this last thing. It is a movie that as soon as it starts going light speed, and it does not slow down for the whole movie, and it is just a blast the whole time. There's never a moment where I'm like, I'm having the time of my life. The whole movie, I can't wipe the dumb grin off my face. Not just a specific scene, but the whole movie. It was a ton of fun. So enough of it. May the force be with you. Yeah, may the force be with you. And if you have seen the movie and you want to hear what we think about it, continue listening. I'm sorry it's taken us half an hour to get here. Clearly, we have a lot to say about Star Wars. But let's focus maybe a little bit, put our horse blinders on, and talk about The Rise of Skywalker.
All right, guys, before we say anything, I just have one sentence I want to tell you guys. Palpatine and his lightning, dude. Hot day, guys. When he, sitting in his throne, he looks up. It shocks the entire sky. Oh my gosh, dude!
The noise it makes is just
I thought that it broke the theater speakers.
The second time, going to see the second time, know what's happening. I could not help myself from laughing because the sound it goes dead quiet and then it goes ear rape mode. It's and it's just so cheesy, but it's so funny.
I got so many chills watching that, and I felt like it finally accumulated to help us realize how freaking strong Palpatine is. And I felt like it finally just tipped a hat to the Jedi and the Sith and actually how strong they really are. If you really throw yourself into the Force, just how much power it can give you. And I just it was so cool. I was just in awe the entire scene. I was yo, he's shocking everything. On the entire planet, oh my
the noise
God.
and him just all that lightning just coming out of his freaking fingers threw me in my seat. It just my jaw dropped through the floor. It was ridiculous. But I will say,
the other thing about his lightning, dude, he's almost killed himself so many times in Revenge of the Sith. He's Anakin, help me! It's dude, just stop lightning. You'll be fine. And then he does the same thing with Rey. He blows himself up with his lightning. Whatever, dude, you're an idiot.
Okay, but
hey, character continuity. That's all I have to say.
But tell you what, though, I thought, the whole villain of Emperor Palpatine. Some people say it makes zero sense, how he's still alive and stuff. But I thought it was just really cool. What a great villain! Especially how creepy and evil he feels.
Yes,
because he's this zombie dude connected to this giant robotic arm that moves it around.
It's like a puppet.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's
okay. I have so many questions. There's so many questions. Okay, this is one thing I love about JJ and made him perfect to direct The Force Awakens is he's really good at creating a mystery box to be explored. It's I'm going to introduce a bunch of things and I'm going to explain none of them, and then the next films will explore them. And that happened a ton, which is not super good for a conclusion film because there's so many questions I have about Hexagol or Exegol, however you say that. And what are all those Sith choir people doing? Who are they? What the heck are they doing? Why didn't
Dude, I love this Sith choir people.
Let's just chill with that. Dude, I was just waiting that at some point when Ben, I love saying Ben instead of Kylo, but when Ben and Rey were sitting there with their lightsabers, that all the choir people would come in. I was come on, give me a fight scene. And then they both just got blasted by Palpatine. But okay, what the heck is going on with that? Rey's orange lightsaber, finally, or yellow, canon yellow lightsabers. I guess it's technically canon in the Clone Wars, but movie canon. Oh, she's a
epic, and the way she turns on her lightsaber is so sick.
It's her staff. Oh, and how
it's from her staff from before.
Yeah, the yellow and how it's a perfect. It just portrays her Force abilities with the Kyro crystal perfectly. Oh, there's
perfectly
so many things.
Also, can we just say the first scene with Palpatine is the most dopest scene ever with Palpatine, where he just how with Kylo Ren, Palpatine is saying all these things what he promises to Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is what can you give me? And then Palpatine's the dark side of the Force gives many abilities that some consider unnatural, and it's the way he says it.
And then he says what can I give? And he's everything. His voice, it was magnified. I just thought it was sick. I was yo, this is Star Wars, baby. Palpatine is back. Let's go.
Is his name Ian McDiarmid? No, that's not his name. Who is it that plays Palpatine? He's played him in all the movies. I forget his name, but it genuinely, it seemed like he was having the time of his life as Palpatine again. Like he was just like as a person, as an actor, he was just having a ton of fun. And man, there's so many things I want to talk about, and my brain's just mush right now. But man,
His name's Ian McDermott.
oh, I did have it right. Okay, I'm so excited that Kylo Ren is now actually Ben Solo.
Palpatine's first name is Sheev.
Yeah, you didn't know that,
Sheev Palpatine.
I think it says it.
dude. He's
Chef-
although
Chef Palpatine?
I don't know. I've always thought it was Sheev, but although the attack on his life has left him scarred into form, he can still get it on with the ladies somehow and have a son. But whatever, dude. Dude, I love Ben Solo. Oh, that scene. Well, that scene when he's talking to Han and Han showed up and he literally just says, "Dad." And then Han says, "I know." I was like, oh, there were so many. I thought it was a great redemption film for him. I wish it kind of would have started more. I wish it would have started more in The Last Jedi so we could have gotten more of Ben Solo in The Rise of Skywalker, but that's just because I love him so much as Ben. But like, there's so many things he said about redemption that multiple times in my life, it was like, I feel that. Like when he said, he's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough. Oh man, that got me. He's like, oh man, I felt that so many times in my life. Or like when he talks about how he's never able to go back and see his mom again because he's just gone too far. I'm like, oh man, felt that. But it was just such a great. And then he comes back and he's with his gun and he just shoots backwards.
Or when like he gets lightsaber from Rey when they switch through their connection, and then he like shrugs.
Oh, he shrugs like Honda, and I was like, dude, like Father like son.
Okay, I think Ben Solo had a fantastic character arc. I loved it. Like as I was watching, like I felt I was like, he's gonna die, but it's gonna be like completely needed and like perfect for his arc.
It was so good.
Like I absolutely loved it. I thought it was just perfect as like it's because it's what the Skywalkers do. Like maybe they mess up really bad, but like in the end they like redeem themselves and like save the galaxy or like save someone and like end up having to give their life. And I just thought it was so awesome. And like I knew, and like as soon as it happened, like yeah, I was like sad. But I've heard like a lot of people hated it because like but the thing with Rey, but honestly, I just thought it was like fantastic. I absolutely loved.
I agree.
And just because like the fact that he like gave his life force to Rey to like save her makes me love him so freaking much. I was like, Ben, you were like solidified yourself as all-time favorite Jedi.
There are so many things I noticed the second time viewing. So when Rey heals like the stab wound that she gives to him, I don't know if you noticed this, it also heals the scar on his face.
It does, yeah.
And I thought about it the second time viewing. I was like, I wonder if there was some internal healing that Rey provided to him as well. That like you could tell throughout the Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, he was already kind of turning. But maybe that moment, in the moment that he had with his mom, but also the moment that Rey gave him, and maybe healed something inside of him, he was able to finally talk to his dad and overcome the difficulty he had to go through for redemption.
Forget. So as I was watching that, seeing they're fighting, and Kylo's like about to kill Rey, and then he hears his mom, Leia, and he's like, "Hold up." And like he turns, and when Rey like stabs him, I was like, "Wow, that is like the lowest of the low." Like, what the heck? He's about to kill you, and he like turns, and he just like, stab him in the stomach. You're like, "Wow, Rey, you better do something, because if you just kill them, I will hate you forever."
Because at this point, like, he like lets go of his lightsaber. Like it's kind of like symbolically showing that he's kind of letting go of the hatred and stuff. And then Rey's like, hatred, boom.
Yeah, that was intense. But anyway, so there was that moment. But then, I have so many things to say about his moment when he saves Rey. So like Ben and Kylo, however you want to call him, he's really been in turmoil and been acting everything out of rage and kind of what other people tell him he needs to do and what he thinks he needs to do. He's always like in rage and always in confliction with himself. Conflict. Thank you. He's always in conflict with himself. And in that moment, you can tell he's giving her a hug and she's dead. And like the look on his face, man, Adam Driver, you are an actor, my friend. But like just such turmoil and confusion. And then he gets an idea and you can tell. And he sits up straight and he breathes in deeply. And you just see nothing but like focus and love and determination on his face. And then he heals Rey. And it's like, for once in his life, he did something because he chose to do it. And he chose to do something good. And he saves Rey. And then they kiss, and he smiles. The only time he smiles in the whole trilogy. And then, just dies. His smile, every time he smiles, I'm just like,
Like, he could, he could have showed off that smile without that kiss. The kiss was just like out of nowhere. I've heard arguments where like it was out of pure emotion. Have you not realized the tension between them, or like this was a love story? I'm like, you are so wrong.
I love the kiss. I thought from the Force Awakens, from the moment I watched the Force Awakens, I was like, and then especially the Last Jedi with their Skype phone calls, Force phone calls. I was like, they're gonna kiss eventually. I was grateful it happened, but then I was sad he died. I wanted more of their story together because I feel like they are a great. In a lot of ways, this is a super cheesy way to say it, and I don't have another way. But in a lot of ways, they're very complementary, and they complete each other. As cheesy as it is to say that, like I really felt like they did the whole trilogy. And then it finally happened, and I was like, yes! And I was with my siblings, and I was right next to my sister, and I was like, so so she was dead, and I was like, no, why does one of them have to die? And then he sat up to you and was like, oh, he's going to heal her. They're both going to live. See, they can both live. Because, like, my sister predicted that one of them was going to die, and I was like, they can both live. And then we were both way excited that they could live, and then they kissed, and we were all happy, and then he died, and we're like, never mind. They both can't live.
See, I think with the kiss, like, I would have been okay with it if it was, like you said, more... If we got to see that relationship between Rey and, like, Kylo, and it maybe had, like, some things to, like... justify it? Yeah, like, kind of get the ball rolling. But I felt like it just... almost felt random, like, whoa, like, they just smooched. Because the vibe I got, like, watching them through the whole trilogy was, like, one of, like, a brother-sister kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
that's
so, like,
what I kinda got.
And so when they smooched, I was like, huh? Like, huh? And so it just felt kind of random and, like, almost forced to me, but I could see, like, why they would have done that. Because you could say, like, you know, the motions and stuff, like, saving their lives and everything. But I will say it was kind of funny, just, like they smooch and then he smiles. And, like, I was sitting next to girls and they were both like, oh, and I was like, oh, my gosh. But, like, so he, like, smiles and then, like, it was kind of funny just how he died. Because he's like, ha, and then he smiles and then, boom, he, like, back keels over, just dead. And you're like, wait, what? And, like, dude, it was hard because, like, no. It was weird because the music, I thought it was almost like a joke. Because, like, the music wasn't sad. Like, I didn't get that tone from the movie. So I was like, what is happening? And, like... It, like, kind of just continued with the story. I was like, oh, he's actually, like, really dead. Because, like, it just felt kind of weird. It was almost just like, whoa, what just happened? It was fast. Like, because you did say, like, this movie is, like, light speed the entire time. Like, from the very get-go.
It's like hyperspace.
Like, there's some quick cuts where I'm like, whoa. This movie is so fast. And it makes sense because it had to, like, you know, changing directors.
That's
like,
hard.
You got to kind of clean up some things from the last movie if you're taking it in a different direction and then, like, set up everything else and ending a trilogy. Like, there's so much.
Part of me walked away. Part of me walked away from the movie the second time, and I just thought, what if this movie added like another 30 minutes?
I felt like it needed it. Yeah. It really did, and like there's moments that, like, especially like I wish we had more of Ben Solo. That when he was like completely Ben Solo, not almost there Ben Solo. Yeah. I wish there was more moments for Rey to mourn for him. Like, you can tell when she lands in the X-Wing and she's hugging Finn and Poe, you can, like, see mourning in her face. Also, Daisy Ridley, actor. But I wish there was more of that. And then, like, Rey, she ignites her yellow lightsaber and it's like, all right, we're done with that. Like, okay, you're not going to tell me anymore. You're going to just finally give it to me. And then, no.
I'll tell you what, though. I think this movie did a fantastic job with actually getting some dope Jedi fight scenes in again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was secretly hoping when Rey, like, you know, she, like, hears the charge from all the Jedis, which is freaking dope, by the way, and she, like, stands up. I was hoping that Palpatine
would pull out his lightsaber.
Whip out his lightsaber, because remember in The Revenge of the Sith, like, I saw this meme where it was, like, where he pulls out his lightsaber. It's a freaking dope lightsaber, and he's just standing up. And there's the 3 Jedi who come to, like, arrest him. And it says he goes from, like, just standing, and he does, like, a 920.
A 920 in a prone position.
In a prone position, just like that, and then, like, takes out 2 of these Jedi Knights in, like, a hit. And then he battles out with Mace Windu. Like, where is that Palpatine, gosh dang? I was expecting, like, you know, Rey stands up, and he's like, oh, that's how it's going to be. Whips out his lightsaber, does a 920, and it's just like, come on, dude, that would have been sick. And then, like, have Rey, like, beat him, and then he goes all, like, lightning and, like, stuff like that. I would have liked that. But that's the one thing I was hoping was going to happen, just like that Sith versus Jedi, like, showdown, like, lightsaber duel.
I also wish that scene with the voices I'm so grateful that Hayden Christensen came back. I'm bromance with him, but one way, I don't know. I'm in love with him. But also that Ahsoka was finally there.
Yeah, Ahsoka.
And so many other Qui-Gon Jinn, but there were so many other Jedi, and I was like, in the movie, I was like, come on, the Jedi are going to talk to her. And then I was like, they're going to be Force ghosts, and like, there's no Force ghosts. And that was my one thing. The other thing is I wish at the end of it, when she tells whoever that lady is that she's Rey Skywalker, that in addition to Luke and Leia, that Anakin and Ben would have showed up. I was like, come on! Come on! But there's a bunch. I have a lot to say about like
my personal opinion is I wish they had every single freaking Jedi right there.
Sick.
See, one thing. Sorry, this kind of changes things up, but it made me think of this. I think this movie actually helped me realize how the Force literally can change you as a person.
Yeah.
Like, Ben Solo and Kylo Ren are completely different. Darth Vader and Anakin are completely different. And, like, helped me realize just, like, the contrast on, like, what passion you, like, pursue will, like, change each person. And this, like, gets you, like, kind of almost like a mini fall-in. But I just thought it was, like, really cool to see. Like, I didn't really make that connection, like, with Anakin and Darth Vader. Like, I didn't really see dark side, good light side. And so I just thought, like, Kylo Ren and Ben Solo really, like, wrapped that around, helped me understand, like, yes, like, that the Force changed you completely and, like, what your passions and, like, desires are. And, like, whether you're selfless or selfish, like, what you choose to pursue. So
I also think it's also true for Rey. I love how in the movies her clothing really portrays the turmoil that she's feeling with the light and dark side. I don't know if you noticed that. Especially in The Last Jedi, she's wearing a lot of black and gray, which is kind of her moment where she's like, especially in The Last Jedi, she goes like straight to the dark side.
Okay, not gonna lie, I wanted so bad to see
Dark Rey.
Sith Rey. Like, that little lightsaber thing that, like, twists around and, like, she looked so bad, eh? I was just like, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, please, like, turn to the dark side, and then, like, Ben could, like, bring her back, because I want to see, like, that version of Rey, like, fight. Because that looked so freaking sick. Sadly.
Or just at least a fight scene with her evil self for, like, more than a split second.
Yeah. But anyway, what I was saying was that in the no worries, I agree with you about Dark Rey. But in the Rise of Skywalker, she's wearing like completely white, and it's like pure white. And it was just like I really felt like it showed the purity of Rey, which like even when she has the vision of herself and Ben, or I guess Kylo, on the Sith throne, she still chooses the light. Like even though she may feel a pull for the dark side, even though she's a Palpatine, she still chooses the light. And it makes her like ultimately powerful in the light, and it's just sweet. And I love it.
So when I was watching the movie, I was recovering from getting like super sick. I had a terrible, like I had to go to Instacare to get like drugs and stuff. But the drugs they gave me like would kind of like knock me out and make me super tired. So before I went to the movie, I took these drugs, and so I bought like tons of snacks to keep me awake. But there's a part right before they reveal that like Rey's parents are Palpatines and that Rey's a Palpatine. Like, it was kind of slower at that part, and I was falling asleep.
Oh, dang.
And I was like, shoot, I need to do something because I do not want to fall asleep. So I ran to the bathroom, and I splashed cold water on my face and just kind of, like, woke up again. And, like, right when I walked in, it was, like, after, like, I think it was when Kylo and Rey, like, had just fought and, like, knocked over Darth Vader's helmet or something. So I missed everything from, like, the point when they're like, oh, Chewie's up on the, like, ship or something.
Oh, Chewie's alive.
Up until that part.
Oh, dang.
I missed all that, and so luckily I had it like explained to me like Palpatine.
You missed Babu Frick, the best character in the movie.
And so like I should probably see it again just to like actually see that part and having it instead of having it explained.
That fight scene is if you like fight scenes, that fight scene is so cool because it's the same like Force phone call thing where she's in like the ship and he's down on the ground and they're fighting and it's like going back and forth. The editing was really really cool, but they're like fighting. It's just really cool.
There's points where like they'll hit like an object like a pot, and the barriers will fall where Kylo Ren is, but also where Rey is. So like you can see the connection.
It's cool. It was a cool.
Because yeah, when Kylo snatched that necklace off of Rey, I was like, whoa, dude! Like
yeah, they have a fight scene like that. It's sweet.
So yeah, I felt like I did miss the big reveal of like Rey is a Palpatine.
Well, there's a point where, like, Rey accidentally destroys a ship, right?
Yeah.
Like, because they're both pulling the ship.
Daisy Ridley making me cry my eyeballs out when she screams Chewie's name. I was just like, dang. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. So I want to talk about Finn just really quick. His story arc is pretty legit though. Like he was.
Can we just confirm this? Maybe people haven't heard this. Okay. So when he's sinking in the sand and he's saying, Ray, I want to tell you something, he is not trying to tell her that he loves her.
Yeah.
JJ confirmed, and it's obvious in the movie, he's trying to tell her that he's force sensitive.
Okay, yeah. Not gonna lie, that was one thing I walked away from the movie like way confused.
Yeah, the first time I
because
was like,
they kept hinting at it. You know, like he says it in the beginning and he's like, "Oh, it's not the right time. I just want to talk to
And
you."
then Poe keeps
and
bringing
then
it
Poe like brings it up, and then like it was never
so
addressed.
what
I
were
was
you gonna
like,
tell Ray?
"What the heck?" But that makes a lot of sense
the
because you
second
could
viewing-
see, you know, he's force sensitive, but I didn't know like.
The second viewing, it was so obvious. Like, there's a sweet scene where they're like in the ship and they're trying to find Chewie, and after they get Chewie and like they're like fighting their way through the ship. You know what I'm talking about? So there's a scene where the clones come up behind him and shoot, and Finn dodges the blaster. Like, there's a little laser and he dodges it and then turns around and shoots him instantly. I was like, that is nothing but the Force right there. Anyway, go ahead. What were you saying about Finn?
Sorry, we keep interrupting. We're
This is his whole story arc. Is that he at first he was he was chosen as a kid to be a stormtrooper, right? And he's force sensitive from the very beginning, but we don't know it yet. And he's conflicted because the Force is telling him otherwise. So he chooses not to fire, and then he chooses to save Poe. And his story arc is like huge. It's massive, and he ended up at the very end, being you can tell that he uses the Force. Like he senses Rey, that this is Rey, or like he knows things that other people don't. But one thing I want to point out was that in The Force Awakens, where he pulls out the lightsaber and he fights Kylo Ren, I had that realization of like, hold up, he's a stormtrooper. How the heck is he like being able to keep up with Kylo Ren? Like, but now that he's Force sensitive, that answers that question completely.
Also, Kylo Ren had just been shot with Wookiee's blaster. Yeah. With Chewie's blaster. I don't know if you guys remember what that did to people, but
Yeah, wrecks you.
yeah, he's like fighting at like maybe 50% right now.
But so in this movie, there were 3 scenes where I wanted to like pee my pants because I got so freaking excited.
What scenes?
One of them was like obviously, Palpatine's like lightning in the sky, and then the switch, dude. When Rey like, dude, I was like, as she was like lifting up her arm, I was like, oh, she's about to switch, and like she puts it behind her head, and then like Kylo like. Ben like pulls it out and then he like shrugs. I was just like, oh yeah. That is so sick. And then like a couple minutes later, like once they kind of meet up and like they both like bring up their lightsabers at the same time, like, oh, and then they like get wrecked. And I was like, oh dang it. Like it just showed you how like strong Palpatine was, and then he like sucks the life out of him and then like chucks Ben into this eternal pit or whatever, and I was like, oh dang. But you still can't like negate that hype of when they both raise their lightsabers at the same time. You're just like, Jedi, like, let's go, dude.
My favorite scene, I have to get this off my chest, is so Rey finds out that she's a Palpatine, and she goes to that one island, right? And she like burns Kylo Ren's ship, and she like throwing all this stuff away, and she takes the lightsaber and she chucks it. And Luke, as a Force coach, catches the lightsaber, walks out, and the epic soundtrack comes on, and you're just like, oh! It's like, here it goes. That whole scene, favorite scene, because like it just reminds me of that gif where it's Kronk. It's like, oh yeah, it's all coming together. Like it's just, she's got the lightsaber, she's got Leia's lightsaber, Luke is back to the original self, being like optimistic and stuff, and he pulls a freaking X-wing out of the water just like in number 6. Even his posture is the same thing as number 6, and that whole scene just like, oh yeah,
Sweet.
kick butt.
Okay, so there's one is very minor, the complaint I have about this movie. I think it's really cool that Rey was a Palpatine, and like it kind of explains how like ultimately powerful she was, even though I think that someone can be ultimately powerful of their own choosing if they choose to dedicate themselves. Anyway, that's another conversation for the other day. I wish that they would have kept Rey as a nobody. Like, really, she is a nobody because she really did raise herself. Her parents weren't there, sadly, because Palpatine's evil, but so she really, in a way, is a nobody because she's completely the product of her own self and her own hard work. but I think it would have been a really cool message to have Rey really, like, truly be a nobody. Like, not be a Skywalker or a Palpatine or a Solo or a Kenobi or a Windu or whatever you want to call him. Just let her be a nobody. I really would have enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite things about The Last Jedi, is that she was a nobody. And so I was kind of sad when it revealed that she was a Palpatine. I was like, come on, like, let her be a nobody. But then the rest of the movie I totally forgot about. I was like, well, it's actually kind of cool. She's a Palpatine and chooses to be good anyway. So, like, my qualm is still being resolved within myself. I don't have a huge problem with it. It's very, very slight that, like, almost like wish fulfillment I would have had that, wish that happened. But I also enjoy what they did with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. Like, the one thing I didn't like at the end where she's like, when a random lady like asks her like, Rey who? And she's like, Skywalker. I didn't get that. Like, I mean, you could probably say, you know, she went with the Force, blah blah blah. But it's like, I just felt like it was like me saying like, I'm a Johnston. You know, it's like, okay, but you're not though. Like,
what I felt, because of my first viewing, I really would have wished that all of the Jedi would have been there, with like the Force ghosts. But then the second viewing, I still wish that Anakin and maybe not so much Anakin, but at least Ben was there. Yeah. But I think that has something to do with like the dyad that they are, that like there's some connection that prevents Ben from being a ghost. But anyway, she sees Luke and Leia, and I feel like she chose them as her parents. And they did, like, sure, she raised herself, but like, you have to learn some things from parental figure. And I feel like in a lot of ways, both Luke and Leia are a parent figure for her. Especially that scene that Kate talked about where Luke catches the lightsaber and talks to her, and she's sitting there with her sweet hood on. I felt like it was her kind of choosing her parent, her heritage, and because they were her parents. So
that makes sense.
I really,
that's better. Because, like, when I first saw it, I was like, why, dude? Like, what the heck? I don't like that at all. But I wanted more, like, it makes me sad that she, like, buries those lightsabers.
Yes.
Because I wanted, like, the Jedi to come back. And, like, this is my wish. Is because we all know that Star Wars, like, announced making more movies.
3 more, by the way.
Seriously hoping, I'm praying that they go, like, a prequel and go to the Old Republic.
Oh, I'm hoping it's Old Republic.
Like, so bad.
It's
like,
Old Republic confirmed?
Old Republic.
Because that's
and
like...
possibly Keanu Reeves is going to be in the trilogy.
Because...
I know there's like a fan thing that they want him to be a certain character that I don't know who it is.
He's interested, but they haven't like casted him, but he's like...
Oh, I would love that. Old Republic.
Because, have you guys seen those...
talk about in the prequels?
Have you guys seen the trailers for the Old Republic? Have you seen the trailer Deceived?
No.
Okay, everyone, right now, as soon as you finish this podcast... Go look up Star Wars Old Republic Deceived. It's like the coolest 6-minute video, like some sick Jedi combat against Siths. And like, it's like straight Jedi. It's the stuff I love about Star Wars. I get so hyped talking about it and I get chilled.
See, I would love if it was the Old Republic and then like we get like 2 or 3 trilogies and then the end of the last trilogy is them starting like the Jedi Council.
Oh yeah,
and like it's the beginning of the Jedi, like the Jedi Temple and all that. Like, oh, and then they could have the old freaking lightsaber. I want the temple card.
I want Liam Hemsworth, and I want an origin story for freaking Yoda. Can you imagine that?
Because see, here's the thing: the Old Republic, these trailers I'm talking about were made for like the game that came out, like the PC game, but like they are so freaking sick. Like, we're going to watch it, like, as soon as you finish the podcast. Because, wow, it is so freaking... And there's, like, I think 3 other trailers from, like, the Old Republic. And they're all pretty dang sick. Right. But, like, the Deceived one... Oh, it makes me, like, want to be a Sith. Because it's so dang cool. But, anyway, so I'm praying that they make, like, Old Republic, like, trilogy.
Yeah. If I don't know if anybody else has made it this far with us, but... Or we'll make it this far with us, but this podcast is, we want to make it Rise of Skywalker, but it's kind of turned into a little bit of just Star Wars in general. But
yeah, I'm excited after we finish the MCU and maybe a little while later to do like the whole Star Wars binge and watch all.
That'd be fun, yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome.
You know, one thing that I wish, and this is never gonna happen, but like total, I wish, especially when I watch Rogue One, I wish that Cassian and is it Galen or Jin or so?
Blind dude.
No. Cassian is the like the 2 main, like the girl Jin Erso, and then Cassian, the rebel. I was hoping when I was watching Rogue One, I was like, are they Rey's parents? But then they both died, and I was like, oh, never mind. That would be really cool. I was hoping they were.
That would be really cool.
But
oh man.
Anyway, yeah. So Star Wars. So we've talked a little bit about Fallen. I just want to say one last thing that I really, like Kellen said, I love how much like this movie has to say about redemption, but also like the power of choice, like the power that Kylo has, and also Rey has, that like for good or evil, that like choosing good or evil can really change you. And I also think it has a lot to say about relationships and like once again parentage and parenting, especially that scene with Han Solo and Ben. That it gets me. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I think I loved that, like how we got to see on how it wasn't like set, like I'm good and that's that, but it's like we got to see how like both Ben and Rey were like at conflict. They were like struggling so hard to do what's right and to like do what's best for them and like the galaxy, and so it was just awesome to see, because I feel like if any of us or any person was thrown in that situation, it wouldn't be like, all right, I'm gonna be a Sith and that's that, but it's like it's truly like a choice, and like what desires and passions like let drive you like in your decision making. And so I thought it was just really fun to watch them go through that like decision process and like let that affect them and like what they choose to do, whether like focus on themselves or other people. So that was way cool.
I liked it. This is definitely a movie that's going up there in my top 10 of all movies. It's really interesting talking to you guys, because like I talk to people at work a lot about movies, and it's really weird like how judgmental they are of like this movie. I really would describe, like Scorsese said, as, did he say a roller coaster, an amusement park or amusement ride, something like that?
Amusement park.
Like I feel like this movie really is that. Like it's not some super revelatory, philosophical, thinker movie. It's not necessarily. It's the Jedi versus the Sith. It's not trying to say something incredibly revelatory about life or a character or anything like that. Like sure, it has valuable lessons to learn from it, but like who cares? I enjoy it just as much. Like I had the time of my life watching this movie. Oh, yeah. Like this is the way I watch and enjoy this movie is way different than the way I watch and enjoy Arrival, for example. Like sure, they're both sci-fi movies, but it's totally different in the way that I view them, and they're both in my top 10, and they're both amazing, and they deserve enjoyment in their own ways. So it's fun to be around people who think the same way, because so many people at work, when I talk, like we'll talk about movies that kind of fit in that category of like something to say and really having value, if you want to say that. And then I'll be like, oh, but I really like this movie. I'm like, oh, but like, no, that's not a good movie. It's just an amusement, right? I'm like, so it's still up there for me. And on top of that, you can still take good things from it, like we said. But like, who cares if you can't? I'm enjoying it. And like, sure, whether you say my brain's turned on or off, I know it's on because I know how much I'm enjoying it. And that is enough for me.
Look at all of our podcasts, all of our episodes. Like, we find things that are messages. Like, we've had incredible conversations about, quote unquote, these amusement parks, or just all these every movie that we've watched, we find something, because there always is a message. Like,
and I think it's just how you choose to enjoy it. Like, if you don't want to find it, you're not going to find it. But if you choose to, like, understand the value that an artist, although controlled by a studio or not, they still are able to put those things in there. And so we're going to enjoy it either way. But that was a long podcast because we have a lot to say about Star Wars.
Our spoiler wall was like half an hour long.
It was mainly just talking about Revenge of the Sith. So everyone, if you listened to the whole hour of this, thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed Rise of Hopefully you guys enjoy Rise of Skywalker as much of us. It was a blast. It was a fun movie to enjoy. I'm excited to watch it again whenever I do. I'm excited for our binge of Star Wars whenever we get to that. It's all gonna be good fun.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. And I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited to listen to this podcast. Honestly, it's gonna be fun listening to this. I know. Like the soundtracks too, like in number 1, Phantom Menace against Darth Maul.
Oh, Duel of the Fates. This, I forgot to mention this. That scene where Poe flies over in his X-Wing and it shows the whole fleet that Lando brings in, and the way John Williams builds the music, it made me emotional. It was just like, yeah, exactly. And it was so amazing. Yeah, love that movie. But a slight announcement of what's going to happen for the next few weeks. We are very behind schedule. This time of year has been crazy for us. Hey, it's a new year. Well, that's weird.
2020. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little 3-film break, where 1 week each one of us get to pick a movie. After the 3 weeks, we're gonna jump back into MCU Phase 3 and finish that up, and then find another series to binge and have a ton of fun that way. Should we tell them? We've already decided. We did not talk about it with each other. We just decided we had a list of movies and we each picked one. Should we tell them now or should we surprise them each week? We'll tell you now. Okay, so we're watching Cade's first, which is
Interstellar.
And then Kelton.
I'm actually still on the fence, but I'm deciding between A Quiet Place and Edge of Tomorrow.
And I'm also on the fence. I'll probably end up doing a coin flip or just decide between Ender's Game and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Very different movies, but
We'll let you guys know. So, yep, next week.
Interstellar, for sure. We're going to have a lot of fun. But thanks for listening. Ciao, ciao.
Peace out, home dogs.